India is reviving a 40,000 crore rupee, 2,000 kilometer deep sea pipeline from Oman to Gujarat to bypass the crisis-hit Strait of Hormuz. The project, one of the world's deepest pipelines, will take 5 to 7 years to build, led by GAIL, EIL, IOC, and based on SAGE's feasibility work. It aims to secure long-term conflict-proof gas supplies from Oman and the wider Gulf, reducing India's dependence on volatile LNG markets and vulnerable maritime choke points. Let's connect the dots. A 2,000-kilometer subsea natural gas pipeline connecting Oman's coast to Gujarat, costing about $4.8 billion. It will run through the Arabian Sea, bypassing the Strait of Hormuz, and reach depths of up to 3,450 meters, making it one of the deepest undersea pipelines ever attempted. The Iran-US conflict has closed or severely restricted the Strait of Hormuz.
The Gulf countries, Saudi Arabia, they've seen, the vulnerability of trading via, the Strait of Hormuz. They will probably look to diversify their trade routes. So, for example, for oil, potentially overland pipelines. For something like containers, expanding the ports that are outside of the Strait of Hormuz. So there are things that those countries can do to mitigate, and I think they, having seen the events of recent weeks, they will definitely invest in doing that.
India-bound tankers carrying crude and LNG have been stuck there, causing one of India's worst energy disruptions. Nearly 50% of India's crude imports and a major share of LNG pass through Hormuz. India wants a permanent alternative that is free from conflict to secure long-term gas supplies. The pipeline would give India direct access to gas from Oman, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Turkmenistan, Qatar. These countries collectively hold 2,500 trillion cubic feet of gas reserves. The pipeline will reduce dependence on LNG spot markets.
I think at the moment what we're seeing in the Middle East is a very important geopolitical developments. I think we see two clearly differentiated groups. On the one hand, we have Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, Egypt, and Turkey, which are forcing themselves as the energy the security leaders in the region. And on the other hand, as you correctly mentioned, you have the UAE, which is with close links with India, Israel, and the US. And I think that what this really means for oil markets is that we're likely to see much more production from the UAE coming forward, and that would mean lower oil prices in the medium and long term.
India faces price volatility, supply shocks, high forex outflows as a result of the West Asia crisis, and the pipeline provides stable, cost-competitive gas without relying on tankers or transit countries. India consumes 190 to 195 million metric standard cubic meters per day of gas today, and will need 290 to 300 MMSCMD by 2030. A dedicated pipeline helps meet this rising demand. A feasibility report is underway and construction is expected to take 5 to 7 years after approval. So it's expected to be completed between 2033 and 2035. The government has revived the decade-old Middle East-India deep-water pipeline plan. The pre-feasibility study has already been completed by SAGE, or the South Asia Gas Enterprise Private Limited. 3,000 meters of test pipeline have already been laid to study seabed conditions, specifically the geotechnical, geological, and hydrodynamic factors that determine whether a 3,000 to 3,450 meter deep pipeline can survive for decades. Engineers need to know what the ocean floor is made of at extreme depths, sediment type, rock formations, slopes, shear strength of seabed soil. A pipeline cannot be laid on unstable slopes or loose sediments that may shift under pressure. The pipeline must follow a route where the seabed is smooth enough to support it without excessive bending or stress. The Arabian Sea has micro fault lines, seismic zones. How much movement will the pipeline tolerate? Then there are deep sea currents that can cause vortex-induced vibrations that can cause metal fatigue. The 3,000-meter test pipeline was laid to study deep-sea seabed stability, soil strength, currents, pressure, corrosion, and seismic risks, proving that a 3.4-kilometer deep Oman-India gas pipeline is technically feasible. The SAGE test pipeline was made at a cost of 25 crore rupees to validate seabed conditions.
The intended pipeline starts in Oman. It passes through the Arabian Sea, avoids Hormuz and other sensitive maritime corridors, and will land in Gujarat. At depths of 3,450 meters, it is one of the deepest subsea pipelines globally and requires advanced deep-sea pipe laying and repair technology. It will take 5 to 7 years to construct once approved.
The public sector team includes GAIL as the lead operator with transmission expertise, Engineers India Limited (EIL) to look at technical feasibility, engineering, Indian Oil Corporation for end user and project participation. From the private sector, South Asia Gas Enterprise SAGE has submitted a pre-feasibility study and conducted test pipeline work. The likely contractors could be firms like Larsen & Toubro with subsea engineering capabilities.
Natural gas reaches consumers in two very different forms, as pipeline gas and as LNG, or liquefied natural gas. The fuel is the same, but the way it is transported makes all the difference in cost, complexity, and reliability.
Pipeline gas moves in its natural gaseous form from high-pressure pipelines. It stays at normal temperature and simply flows across long distances with the help of compressor stations. There is no cooling, no special handling, and no conversion process. Once it reaches the destination, it can go straight into power plants, fertilizer units, and city gas networks. LNG, on the other hand, is natural gas that has been supercooled to minus 162 degrees Celsius, so it becomes a liquid. This reduces its volume by a factor of 600, allowing it to be shipped across oceans in specialized cryogenic tankers. But the process is energy intensive and expensive. Gas must be purified, dehydrated, liquefied, stored in insulated tanks, shipped over long distances, and then heated again at the receiving terminal to convert it back into gas. Each step adds costs. That is why piped gas is consistently cheaper. It avoids the liquefaction, shipping, and regasification stages that add $3 to $5 per MMBTU to LNG prices. Pipeline gas also avoids global shipping bottlenecks and volatile spot markets, making it more stable and predictable.
In simple terms, pipeline gas is gas that flows. LNG is gas that must be frozen, shipped, and reheated, and you pay for every step.
The gas will go down. As soon as the war's over, it'll drop like a rock. There's so much of it. It's all over the place, sitting all over the oceans of the world. And it'll go down. But what won't happen is if Iran had a nuclear weapon and used it, then the whole world is a different place.
What about
You're
the
not going to have to
returns?
pay a little bit more for gasoline. The gasoline, the oil will go down rapidly as soon as the war is over.
The pipeline will ensure uninterrupted gas supply, reduce dependence on Hormuz, cut exposure to LNG spot markets, and support India's goal of increasing gas share in its energy mix. Gulf suppliers Oman, UAE, Qatar gain a stable long-term buyer. It will help Indian industries across fertilizers, power generation, and petrochemicals segments. While India's crude exposure to the Strait of Hormuz is around 50%, LNG exposure, however, is above 80%, making the choke point a critical vulnerability. Oil and gas behave completely differently inside a pipeline and require different types of construction. This pipeline will carry natural gas at high pressure in gaseous form and not liquefied natural gas.
It will certainly not be carrying crude oil and LPG, but in doing so, the Oman-India deep-sea pipeline will carry natural gas from the Gulf of Gujarat bypassing the Strait of Hormuz and reducing India's dependence on LNG tankers.